You're listening to Mav Radio's Haunted Heartland on KVNO 90.7 HD2.
Dude, do you think anyone is even here?
For sure, dude. The light was on in the front. I know exactly, there's gotta be someone here, for sure.
I mean, but it's like 12:30. You never know about these burrito joints. Sometimes they're open, sometimes they're not. It's kind of like the Pandora's box of Omaha.
Whatever, dude. The light is on in the front of the store. That's a clear indicator that this place is open. Just try to order. I am starving, please.
Fine. Hey, can I get, 2 steak and egg burritos, and
Dude,
we'll also get...
Five, I'm starving. I am starving, dude.
Where do you even put all that? I mean, 5 steak burritos, and a Coke. See, dude, I told you, there's no one here, and now I'm talking to a stupid box in the middle of the night.
I took that as a confirmation. That click clearly meant, I got your order, now come and get it.
There's no way they got our order. It was probably just a glitch in the box.
Let's just drive to the window and see if anyone is inside. My stomach is about to eat itself. I've got to get some food.
Whatever. You're so needy, you know that?
Hey, I wasn't the one who chose to be friends with me. Remember that. Ah, see? He's right there, making our food. I told you this place was open.
Oh, dude, what's wrong with his face? He's really pale and doesn't look happy to be working here. I hope our food isn't poisoned.
Burritos are naturally poisonous. For your colon, why would he double poison it?
Hello, boys. I see you are a fan of late nights.
Yeah. I mean, sure. Are our burritos ready?
Good. Neither of you are afraid of the dark either?
Well, no. Dude, it's 12:43 in the morning. Are you night blind?
Do you like stories of the supernatural? Things that go bump in the night?
Look, buddy, I have no idea what you're talking about. We came here for burritos. That's it. So if you would kindly give us the 5 steak and egg burritos we ordered, we'll happily be on our way.
You two seem perfect.
Perfect for what?
What the heck? Oh, dude, just roll down the window. Just roll down the window, dude.
Dude, the window is rolled down. Where are we?
Bro, did you get those burritos?
Do you even pay attention to your surroundings? We're literally tied to a chair next to 2 microphones. What kind of sick game is that drive-through junkie trying to play with us?
Look, being tied up is a subpar torture tactic. For God's sake, Zach, he works at a burrito drive-through. Personally, my biggest fear is death by starvation.
You're such a diva.
He's a vampire. He's a vampire.
Hello, and welcome to your 5th annual Haunted Heartland here in studio. I am your main host, Lyle Kukuski, and alongside me we have Zach Padilla.
Thank you, Lyle.
I'm interviewing you for the show.
The whole show.
Yeah, 3 hours of
Just
5th annual Haunted Heartland magic featuring me and Zach Padilla. Tied to these chairs, by the way. That dang vampire, he tied us to these chairs. So can you,
Hey.
Whoa, what's up?
I'm here to help too. DK's in the building.
Dude, DK, you gonna untie us from these chairs?
Hold on, Lyle. I didn't come to help you get untied from your chairs. I just came to help with the show. That's it.
Because we definitely need help with the show.
Yeah, that's what we needed.
You know, either way, we're tied to these chairs. DK's obviously not going to help us, even though we didn't really kind of beg or plea him to do so. I just know DK based on knowing DK, and he's like, there's no way he's going to help us out here.
You know what, Lyle? You lucky I brought a knife with me today. I'll come over there and cut these ropes off your arms, and I'll save you.
Right now?
Right now. I'm on my way. Hold on one second.
All right. Whoa, DK. The ropes, no, they're only unbreakable by the vampire. We forgot to tell you that as soon as you walked in. So.
And I'm pretty sure you tightened mine.
Yeah, you.
Well, I have garlic, so I can just put a trap out.
That's why it stinks in here. Good job, DK. Literally, you've made the whole room smell like garlic. We're here in studio smelling like garlic. But fortunately for you guys, you're not in studio. You're going to be out and about listening to Haunted Heartland, not giving kids trick-or-treating candy. Trick-or-randy? I felt like I was going to say that. Not giving trick-or-treat candy. You're going to be sitting in studio hosting with us, relaxing for 3 hours. We're taking this all the way back to 1930s, where you sit around your radio, you turn off your TV because you don't have one, and you listen to Haunted Heartland. Zach, how do you feel about this?
I say throw away the TV, don't unplug the internet because you might be listening through that. But throw away that TV. Old news.
Old news. DK, how are you feeling?
I feel great. It's a day where there's no Husker football. There's no Monday Night Football. It is Tuesday. It's all about Haunted Heartland. Turn off your TVs. Mute your phones. Put them on vibrate. It's going to be a blast tonight. We're going to spook your minds.
Absolutely. We're going to spook them real good. We got 14 reporters out in the field ready to tell you about the scariest things in the Omaha metro area. Thankfully, no one is going to Council Bluffs. That's literally the scariest place in the whole United States currently. So, with that being said, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break here, and we're going to lead it right into our first piece. So, stay tuned to Mav Radio. You're listening to the 5th Annual Haunted Heartland Show.
Feeling witchy this season? You're listening to Haunted Heartland, the witchiest channel around.
You're listening to Haunted Heartland on mavradio.fm.
And that's right, you heard it here first. mavradio.fm's 5th Annual Haunted Heartland. We just played an intro for you, so now you are strapped into the 3-hour special of Haunted Gatherings brought to you by us, Mav Radio. To lead off this wonderful first hour, we have a story on Dia de los Muertos. Dia de los Muertos is one of the world's most misunderstood holidays. Spanish conquistadors bringing Catholic influence to Latin America combined the holiday with the Catholic traditions of All Saints and All Souls Day. But as Gabriel Escalera tells us, this is a very special day for families to reunite with their loved ones that have passed. Let's take a listen to Gabriel Escalera's story on Dia de los Muertos. Excuse me.
West of Mexico City, in the state of Michoacán, lies the city of Pátzcuaro, founded centuries before Columbus as a holy place. It still is. Pátzcuaro is the backdrop for one-of-the-kind festivals in early November. It doesn't honor saints, but something not other country reveres: dead. This makes Mexico a special place to live and die. In Pátzcuaro, children decorate skulls made of sugar and eat them. The pre-Columbians saw the skull as a symbol of life. Marigolds grow especially for the Day of the Dead. Once a year, women bake Day of the Dead bread with the headless spoons that represent the souls of the deceased children. In other places, villagers create arches and they attach offerings to entice the dead to return. Maria Torres has built one ever since her husband died 22 years ago.
All my children will be there. They join me in waiting for their father. We light candles and we take a bottle of tequila because he liked to drink.
Before the Spanish conquest, indigenous people celebrated the dead at different times of the year. The Catholic Church tried to stomp out these festivals, but failed, so they merged the two celebrations into two Catholic commemorations: All Saints' Day and All Souls' Day. On All Saints' Day, the living and the departed will reunite. no one stays home. Families remain all night at the cemeteries, waiting for their loved ones to return. Each candle represents a departed soul. Some people light extra candles for the forgotten souls.
Just 2 days ago, I felt him in the house. When he would come home a little drunk, he would throw things around. And last Sunday, 2 glasses of beer fell off the counter. And I said, "That's my husband." And the kid said, "That's Dad coming home."
This is Mexico's version of the family tree, tracing roots by telling stories. After several years of telling stories, children come to know their ancestors.
I've done this since childhood. My grandmother showed me what to put in the offering. I grew up watching. And here I have my own grave to honor with a flowered arch, offerings, and candles.
Waiting for the dead to return might cause some to be afraid, but not Mexicans.
There's nothing to fear here. We're never afraid. Afraid of what? What's to be afraid of?
All night, churches bell in some of the spirits. The sleepy vigil ends with a special mass. Comforted by the memories of her husband, Maria will return again next year.
Nuestro corazón y de lo que Dios nos regala.
For MavRadio.fm, I am Gabriel Escalera.
In many cultures around the world, people remember that their loved ones in different ways. But in Mexico, people take it a step further. People know that it's for 2 days, and they will spend 2 days with their dead family again, as if in life. Ladies and gentlemen, we're here in studio with Gabriel Escalera. He's actually willing to talk about his experiences with Dia de los Muertos. Gabe, how you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
We've got these candy skulls. We've got a man coming home drunk, throwing his bottles around, and his wife loving it. And you talk about all these strange experiences with the Dia de los Muertos holiday that aren't really talked about. Can you tell us a little bit about your experiences with Dia de los Muertos and kind of what you think of it nowadays in this current time?
Well, first of all, it kind of helped that didn't help much when I was a kid to know about this and learn about this in the way that I did. When I moved to the countryside, we ended up living about maybe half a mile from the cemetery, the local cemetery. Mm-hmm. So they, grown-ups, they always have these stories going on about dead people and coming back on Dia de los Muertos to visit their families. Of course, we didn't, as a kid, I didn't see it as a good thing yet, but it's scary. From there, it's just so many things happened that kind of became normal. These altars with offerings for the dead at my grandma's house and at my mom's house. Mm-hmm. It kind of just becomes a part of you, and then you see and hear things that you don't know if that's something that is not normal or if that's something that is just normal and you get used to it.
Mm-hmm. So do you have like a specific experience where you really went in as a young child and you were like, whoa, like what's really going on here that you can kind of reflect on now? Any experiences with weird traditions that you would consider weird at a young age that you don't consider weird anymore? Yes. Or you look back on and you can say, hey, that was really weird?
Yeah, sure. I guess maybe I was about 7, I think 7 or 8. It's something that I guess even nowadays I still think about it, and it just doesn't make sense what really happened there. But my family and I went to visit this healer, which is in a different state, Veracruz, which is known for having these kind of persons there, they help out in many good and bad ways. Mm-hmm. we went seeking for the cure of one of my aunts, actually, which it apparently had something that no doctor can find out what was the problem. Okay. So that's how we ended up going to this place. This guy, which the first time I saw him, it looked normal to me, but then he invited us over to his house.
Yeah.
In the house, it's just when you walk in, you felt something. I felt something. I felt like something just got heavy on my shoulders. The smell of burning candles, the whole time that I was there, it just kind of stayed with me the whole time. Even more when we walked into the house and they went on and did what they're supposed to do, try to heal my aunt, I guess. We just kind of hang out in a big living room, and there was this kind of like a big glass box where this guy kept his dead wife with him in his house.
It wasn't just a picture of her; it was literally her body.
No. He later came back and came out when he was talking to us, explained, that it was his wife, and he kind of had that chance to just keep her with him, with his family. Every year on her birthday, they will lay it down on a bed, and her kids will come over and visit, kind of like celebrate a birthday for her.
Wow.
But I didn't get too close to it, and I guess grown-ups don't pay attention to that, like nothing's gonna happen to these kids. They don't think of, it could be traumatizing for some of us at that age. And it's, I'm over it now, but I still, think about it sometimes, and the whole thing doesn't really make sense sometimes to me. Why would they do that?
So you're married, right?
Yes.
Would you do that to your wife?
Probably not. I would probably not.
Well, that's good to know. But thank you again for coming on and sharing that experience with us. I don't think any of us have ever had a mummified body in front of us to really witness, maybe in a casket at a funeral, but definitely not to get healing from a witch doctor and his wife that's mummified. Really great stuff here on Mav Radio. Up next, we've got DK. DK, what do we got up next?
Well, next up, we have a little something in these apartments that we're going to venture out to. Ooh. And we also have something that goes along with sleeping. But I'm not going to give you too much information because you have to stay tuned and make sure that you listen to it as we're here for the 5th annual Haunted Heartland on MavRadio.fm.
Do you hear that? Is that blood? Are those bones? Show yourself. Haunted Heartland. Only on MavRadio.fm.
You're listening to Haunted Heartland, right here on MavRadio.fm. Are you ready?
And we are back to the 5th annual Haunted Heartland on MavRadio.fm. I'm one of your hosts, DK. I'm also here with Mr. Lyle Scare. And I'm here with Kyle, Zach. I'll get your name.
I don't get a spooky entrance.
Well, you know what? Lyle and Kyle, and then your name. I don't know, man. I'm just off today, I must say. But we're going to take you guys to some of the scariest apartments here in the city limits of Omaha. In a historic building in Omaha's Little Italy neighborhood, there's nearly 100 years old. This building is home to both apartment tenants and dwellers of the paranormal. And when they come out to visit, they make sure their presence is known. Reporter Ben Phillips walks us through the spirits living in the White House apartments.
Ooh.
Take a drive along 10th Street, south of the Old Market, and you'll see this red house on a hill with its historic characteristics. You might think nothing of it, but this nearly 100-year-old building has seen some unwanted visitors.
And here was this sort of white figure coming down the staircase.
And we both just stood there another second or two, and then he went into the wall.
Two figures, whose souls have been here long ago, returned to the now White House apartments. Owner Gina Basili recalls her encounter with one of the spirits while getting ready for bed.
I walked across the hall to come to the office, and I looked, and here was this sort of white figure coming down the staircase.
This figure is known as the Lady in White, and she's known to haunt the first floor of the apartments, especially one room in particular.
and then she walked straight toward what we would call now apartment number 1, and then disappeared through the door.
The White House Apartments, although no longer white, wasn't always an apartment complex. The apartments were once a home for Bishop Worthington, the headmaster for Brownell Talbot School, among other uses.
It's been a surgical hospital, it's been a retirement home for nurses, and it's been a retirement Presbyterian retirement home. The Sons of Italy sold it to one of their members, Mr. Lapuzza, and he was the one who transformed it into apartments in the 50s.
In the time the building was a hospital, what is now apartment number 1 was an office for the doctors and nurses working there. So it is said that the lady in white was a nurse while the building was a hospital. The apartments are known to have weird phenomenons when spirits come to visit, especially in apartment number 1. But that might not explain for what happens in there.
We've had people who live in apartment number 1 say they came home, they were sure that they did not leave any candles lit, and they come home and candles in the bathroom or on the coffee table are lit.
When the building became a hospital, that's when the owner believed the spirits started coming around. But that's not the only spirit who calls the apartments home. Former tenant Mary Noctegal tells of the man in the black hat, the spirit who dwells on the 2nd floor.
I'd start hearing these footsteps coming down the steps in the evening. At that time, there wasn't anyone living on the 3rd floor. I could hear the door open and then nothing. So I didn't think much of it because I felt there was something up here anyway, it didn't bother me.
For 4 nights in a row, she kept hearing footsteps coming down from the 3rd floor. It was time for Mary to see what was going on.
So I heard him come down the steps and the door opened, but this time I heard footsteps going past my door. I thought, okay, all right. So I got up, I opened the door, and I stepped out, and I looked to the right. I didn't see anything, but I looked to the left, and the fire escape door has a big window in it. I could see the shape standing in the doorway.
But then she saw someone else.
I could see the shoulders and the head turn in my direction like he was looking at me. I didn't see a face, but I still saw the outline. But it definitely turned and looked at me, and we both just stood there another second or two, and then he went into the wall.
These aren't the first sightings of these spirits. Other tenants have reported seeing both our visitors on other occasions. Mary recalls a conversation with another tenant about seeing a shadow while watching fireworks.
She saw a reflection in the door of someone behind her, and she turned around, and it was a man, just a shadow, but it was dark, it was black, and it was kind of tall. And he stood there and looked at her, and she looked at him, and then he just disappeared.
No one knows the origins of the man in the black hat, or why he comes back to the house. But the next time you travel on 10th Street in Omaha's Little Italy, don't forget about that red building on the top of the hill. And ask yourself, are the spirits making a visit tonight? For mavradio.fm, I'm Ben Phillips.
With the White House Apartments history, it's not a place you want to be at night, as you never know who or what will be lurking around. One man's brave enough to be there right now. Ben Phillips is live at the White House Apartments. Hey, Ben, just let me know. Are you feeling anything right now? Any spirits nearby?
Honestly, now that I'm here inside in the apartments, I'm starting to feel the lady in white coming down the stairs, but I don't know, it's a little wishy-washy, you know.
Hold on, so you're actually inside the apartments? You're not outside the apartments?
Who's better? No, I got inside the apartments.
Oh, you're a better man than me. I don't know if I'll be able to go inside those apartments. So give us like a picture of like what do you see with your eyes?
I'm inside the lobby, and right now there's a lot of old wood paneling, a lot of really old furniture, old flooring. Basically, it's got a really old-timey kind of feel. This building was built in the early 20th century, so it definitely has a lot of furniture and a fireplace in here from that time period.
Have you talked to any of the current tenants to see if they've had any paranormal experiences there?
I did speak to one of the tenants, and all he told me was he lives on the 3rd floor. He didn't really have any feelings other than his Wi-Fi every now and then going off, but who knows, that could be a ghost.
Is there any light, or like, so you say you're in the lobby, so is there any lighting in there at all?
Very dim. There's one big chandelier in the middle, and otherwise it is a really dark building. There's green walls everywhere, wood paneling. It feels kind of cold in here.
Oh, wow. So have you got any cold breezes in there?
Thankfully not, but I have a feeling once I hang up, I'm going to start feeling those cold breezes like that lady in white coming in, just coming in.
Well, thank you very much, Ben. We really appreciate it. Make sure you take care of yourself, and if that lady in white comes after you, make sure you run from that lady in white.
Ask her on a date.
Thanks, guys.
At dinner and a movie, right?
Absolutely.
Wow, Lyle, that's impressive. I mean, he really went inside the building and everything.
Yeah, I mean, lady in white seems like a nice gal, though. She ain't hurting anybody, you know?
She's not hurting anybody yet, but I mean, Zach, would you go inside the building at all?
I can't even talk to real life girls, so let alone a dead one. I don't think that's gonna work well for me.
Well.
Real life girls versus dead girls.
I'd rather be in bed, honestly. I'd rather just be sleeping.
Yes, sir. As we're moving on with our little show here, once again, you're listening to the 5th annual Haunted Heartland on MavRadio.fm. We're going to move into the next story. We're going to have Sleep Paralysis by Melody Land. Sleep is the most important part of our day. It refreshes us and brings us into a new day. However, some experience the paranormal while they sleep because their nightmares to cross over into the real world. Reporter Melody Land explains sleep paralysis through the eyes from those who have experienced it and how a peaceful night of sleep can quickly turn into a living nightmare.
Running, screaming, breathing heavy, trying to escape. There's a terrible, frightening monster behind you, and no matter how fast you run, you can't escape it. You see its ugly, glowing red eyes, its sharp teeth, and it lets out a menacing roar. And suddenly, just as it's about to grab you with its horrifying claws, you wake up. Your eyes adjust to the dark room, looking around your familiar surroundings, and your heart settles. It was just a nightmare. However, for some, the nightmare doesn't end there. The nightmare begins as soon as they wake up. Benjamin Hausch and Olivia Ochuba have been dealing with sleep paralysis for as long as they can remember.
I would say at my early teen years, so a little over 10 years.
Probably had my first experience with sleep paralysis in junior high, so probably when I was about 13.
Sleep paralysis is a feeling of being conscious but unable to move. This occurs when a person passes through the stages of wakefulness and sleep.
Sleep paralysis, it's often a strange, terrifying phenomenon where a person wakes up or as they're starting to fall asleep and realizes that they're unable to move. And the paralysis can last for a few seconds, even up to an hour. During that time, the patient they're awake, they're aware, they can hear what's going on around them. They can sometimes open their eyes so they can see what's around them as well, but they can't move or speak.
Dr. Sheehan of the Midwest Sleep Center states that this phenomenon seems uncommon, but isn't in most cases. 4 out of 10 people will experience sleep paralysis at some point in their lifetime.
Sleep paralysis is actually very common. Up to about 40% of the people will experience sleep paralysis at some point in their lives. For some, it only happens once, and it never happens again for the rest of their lives. For others, it can be quite frequent. Sleep paralysis is more common in people with narcolepsy, but it can also happen on its own without being affiliated with any other type of conditions.
For people like Ben and Olivia, it happens to them more than once.
At least in the past month or so, I have had a few experiences where I can sense that it's coming on as I'm about to fall asleep. And so if I open my eyes soon enough, I can kind of escape the paralysis.
The Sleep Paralysis Project states that there are many different stages of sleep paralysis. They list the symptoms in which sleep paralysis occurs for most. First, there is the feeling of being awake, not in a dreamlike state. Next, a person may wake up and realize their surroundings, like a person sleeping next to them or their alarm clock. From there, the symptoms move to the rest of the body, including the inability to move, overwhelming fear and dread, and even, in some cases, chest pressure and difficulty breathing.
Not being able to move, and, I'm trying to get out of it, but I just can't. The more I try to get out of it, the more I'm stuck.
But the most terrifying part of sleep paralysis is the thought that you're not alone. This also may sound like something that is not common, but according to the Sleep Paralysis Project, It is one of the symptoms. A sensed presence, evil or malicious, can be felt during this time. Occasionally, unusual sensations will accompany this as well, including hearing noises or smelling something in the room.
The last memorable time that I had sleep paralysis, there were different sounds. Like as I was unable to open my eyes, I heard kind of like a drill, like maybe from a dentist's office, coming in and out on each side of my ear, like getting closer and farther away.
Sleep paralysis for some is not accompanied by black figures or noises in the room.
So I'd have some sort of nightmare, and then everything would turn black, and I would kind of see these green swirls that would kind of come over me, and then I would not be able to move. And so obviously it was pretty terrifying.
So, is sleep paralysis a paranormal experience? Some would say yes.
To me, sleep paralysis has always been associated with the supernatural, especially in my religion, being raised as a Buddhist. Spiritual figures, or whatever you want to call ghosts, tends to come through sleep paralysis to get their message across or to let you know that they want something from you. To me, it's really linked to the supernatural.
The Nightmare, an oil painting by Henry Fuseli completed in 1781, was supposedly the first depiction of sleep paralysis. A woman is draped across a bed in a white dress while a demon-like creature crouches on her chest. Blumhouse author Stephen Johnson states that this creature has different names, but he refers to it as a night hag, a creature, ghost, or vengeful spirit that sits on your chest, causing the inability to breathe. Others have claimed stories of alien abduction, astral projection, or an out-of-body experience, and most commonly, shadow people.
Plenty of times I see figures trying to attack me and, hovering over me when I'm sleeping, looking at it like a black shadowed figure. I mean, it sounds over-exaggerating, but if you've never experienced it, that's what I see.
However, it may not be shadow people or aliens that you're seeing during sleep paralysis.
It's just that encroachment between wake and REM, where you're still partially dreaming, and still it's called a hypnagogic hallucination, or hypnopompic hallucination if you're waking up.
For a more scientific definition of sleep paralysis, it's simply a sign that your body is not moving smoothly through the stages of sleep.
There's two chemicals that are released in REM, or rapid eye movement sleep. When you're in REM, those two chemicals are released to paralyze you, to stop you from acting out your dreams. So people who lack those chemicals get up and sleepwalk, and people who have too much of those chemicals wake up feeling like they're paralyzed or have sleep paralysis. The sleep paralysis side of it is where the REM is starting to encroach on the wake. Those chemicals don't turn off properly by the brain cells, and it doesn't allow you to have that muscle movement that you would normally have once you wake up.
This can occur in two instances: hypnagogic or pre-dormital sleep, or hippopompic or post-dormital sleep. Basically, falling asleep or waking up is when sleep paralysis can occur. But why does sleep paralysis occur? Is it a way to simply torment people when they're most vulnerable? Or is it a sign that a vengeful and evil spirit walks the halls of your home? Well, in most cases, it's just simply a lack of sleep, an irregular sleep schedule, stress, and can even occur when sleeping on your back.
The most important thing is practice good sleep hygiene. So getting enough sleep, 6 to 8 hours of sleep, actual sleeping time, not laying in bed watching TV or trolling around on Facebook. Sleep is a very important part of our lives. We spend a third of our day sleeping, so it takes up a good percentage of our time, and we need to make sure that we're getting that good, deep, restorative sleep.
However, some truly believe that shadow people, ghosts, and even aliens plan to attack them during sleep paralysis. Others, like Olivia, simply believe that it's just a condition that happens occasionally.
I think that it's just a simple condition. I think, maybe things, external triggers such as stress, not sleeping, in regular schedules are things that bring it on. I think it's just a natural phenomenon that happens.
Regardless if you believe that there is a supernatural or scientific side to sleep paralysis, we can all agree that sleep paralysis is truly terrifying.
You can hear it in my voice.
From avradio.fm, I'm Melanie Land.
We've all had pretty bad nightmares that some of us can recall, but having a nightmare cross over into the real world via sleep paralysis sounds horrifying. If you've experienced sleep paralysis before, it could be an awful experience. There are sleep centers and sleep studies that cater to studying sleep paralysis, the Midwest Sleep Center being one of those places. That's where reporter Melanie Land is now. So you're at the Sleep Paralysis Center, Melanie.
That is correct. Yes, I'm standing right outside the doors.
Right outside. So right now you're getting covered in the cold and the snow that's outside, huh?
Yes, I am.
Oh,
yes.
you gotta
I'm
love
feeling
that. You're a real trooper. You're the real MVP.
Melanie,
I am.
Melanie, are people sleeping outside the sleep center?
I haven't seen anyone yet, but if we maybe somebody could show up. Who knows? Anything could happen. It's Halloween.
Okay, just keep your eyes open, all right?
I will.
All right, good deal.
Have you ever experienced sleep paralysis? And if you have, what happened?
I have had a few memorable experiences with sleep paralysis, and they have been pretty terrifying. My most recent episode with sleep paralysis was I woke up laying on my right side, and I could open my eyes, but I couldn't move the rest of the body, which is a symptom of sleep paralysis. And I remember my eyes darted over to my kind of bedroom door, and I saw a really tall, black, shadowy figure. I could see that it was tall. It was kind of fading in and out. And then I saw it walk to the opposite side of my bed, so I was facing a wall, and I just felt this weight on my bed, as if someone was getting into the bed next to me. And I remember waking up. I'm pretty sure I almost had a heart attack. It was pretty terrifying.
Oh, wow. So let me tell you, we are paralyzed here, too. So we've been invaded by 4 tall purple, red, and yellow, and green Teletubbies that invaded the studio. So we totally feel your paralysis. Now, based on your experiences, do you think sleep paralysis is linked to the supernatural, or is it just a natural condition that happens?
After interviewing Dr. Sheehan of the Midwest Sleep Center, I've concluded, just in my own personal opinion, that it is just a natural condition that happens. Your body just goes into a paralysis when you enter in REM sleep or rapid eye movement sleep. So I think it is just a natural condition, but if, for example, the person that I interviewed in my story, Ben, he sees shadowy figures all the time. So if you see that, frequently, I could see how someone could say it's linked to the supernatural.
Now, just for those who don't know, all of our listeners and our viewers on Facebook Live, where is the Midwest Sleep Center located?
Right, I'm located off of Cass Street, basically 84th and Cass. I can kind of see where the Big Red restaurant is, the sports bar. It's directly right across from that.
All right, Melanie, thank you very much. Make sure you stay warm and keep those eyes open.
Thank you, guys.
All right, and when we come back, we are going to be talking about everyone's 2 favorite subjects. We got Satanists, and then followed by pagans. You are not going to want to miss it. I guarantee you will be scared. You'll be up all night just worried that maybe someone you know is a Satanist. But we'll be back. This is Mav Radio's 5th annual Haunted Heartland, if I can speak.
Aren't you a Satanist?
Once. It was an accident.
Hold on, time out. We can't go to break just yet. You were a Satanist?
No, I mean,
Go to break.
You're listening to mavradio.fm. Come back for more.
What have you done to him, you maniac?
Satan is his father, not Guy. He came up from hell and begat a son of mortal woman. Hail, Satan!
Hail, Satan!
Satan is his father.
Boo! We are back for Haunted Heartland. This is the 5th annual Haunted Heartland. How are you guys doing? Okay, good. Lyle's still the same. So
Lyle Scare.
Make sure you guys are also watching this live on the Facebook page for Mav Radio, and you can also follow us on Twitter if you haven't already done that already. I'm sure you have. So let's hop into our next story here. I want you to picture a Satanist, and you might imagine someone dressed in a black cloak and a mask, engaging in a bizarre, violent ritual that at some point will make Satan burst through the floor in a flurry of fire, bringing an end to the world. Satanists may not sound like the friendliest types, but 27-year-old Luthra lives in Omaha and is happy to explain why his religion is misunderstood.
The most well-known branch of Satanism is the form created by Anton LaVey in the 1960s. He created the Satanic Bible, which remains the most available text on the Satanic religion. He also formed the Church of Satan, which is by far the most well-known and most public Satanic organization. Although the number of people that practice Satanism is kept private, For the sake of their privacy and allowing people to quantify them, practicing Satanist Luther Hiffa says many are born into Satanism or learn from close relatives.
Well, my parents growing up were Satanists, so pretty much I grew up in an environment where I was exposed to a lot of satanic material.
Satanism is not easily defined and can be practiced differently. The basic commonality in all of the branches of Satanism is a promotion of self.
We actually don't worship anything because it comes back to us being our own gods as individuals.
Some of Satanism's practices are constant, and Satanist unity is found more in rituals than in an underlying belief system.
One of the most common rituals that I've practiced and seen in somebody wrongs you or something bad happens in life, you could grab a doll or whatever symbolizes it, take it to a ritual chamber, and you pretty much, you could put pins in it, put a curse on the doll. Once you're satisfied, make sure to leave the doll in the ritual chamber. Symbolizes you leaving the situation behind and makes you feel a lot better. And I don't feel guilty if something bad happened to happen to the person.
Some Satanists hold that the only existence they will ever know is here on Earth.
I don't believe in the afterlife. I believe life is here as we have it. If you're going to do something that's considered a sin, be the best sinner on the block. If you're going to be naughty, enjoy it. Enjoy life.
Since there is no afterlife, holidays are celebrated a little differently.
Celebrate all holidays as we wish. The most important one is our birthdays because it comes back to you. You're celebrating yourself.
Terms like Satanism, satanic, and even the name Satan encompass a variety of ideological, philosophical, and spiritual beliefs today. Brady DeSanti, a religious professor at the University of Nebraska at Omaha, discusses Satanism from a different angle.
I almost see it as like a form of Ayn Rand's libertarianism or objectivism. But the use of rituals, from an anthropological perspective, we all need rituals. Even if you don't believe in any extra power.
DeSanti has been studying religion for several years.
What I understand about Satanism, and I realize there's variations on it, but I do personally see it as a form of atheism. That it uses the figure of Satan as depicted in the Hebrew Bible and the New Testament as the ultimate rebeller, the ultimate sort of be your own sort of guide and don't mistrust authority, go with your own experience. And so they use that as sort of a lightning rod to energize themselves, to what I call self-actualization.
Satanists themselves often have to clear up misconceptions about their religion.
There is actually no Satan, which is surprising to a lot of people. There is no God. We do not worship Satan or God.
He says society perceives Satanists as eccentric.
You can tell a Satanist apart by clothing or anything else. And that's what people don't understand because they expect this grandiose celebration of negativity, which is not the case.
Satanists are individualist, and everyone has their own story about how they came to embrace the symbol of self in their lives. One thing Hiffa says many can agree on is,
we don't give our power away to anything to create fear. The power is always with me as an individual, Satanist. Therefore, I have nothing to be scared of.
For MavRadio.fm, I'm Analia Ramirez.
Satanism has been around for more than 50 years and continues to expand. If you're interested, for some reason, in learning more about Satanism, you can buy the Satanic Bible online on Amazon, Walmart, or any bookstore. And if you got Amazon Prime, you can get that in 2 days.
Wow.
Who knows? You might be standing next to a Satanist right now. And we go live to Analia, who is live in Hummel Park. We had to call 3 different people just to get a hold of her. So that either says something about the spooky Hummel Park or that
Satanism that you get Amazon Prime and you're going ahead and get that book in 1 day then.
So, Analia, you're at Hummel Park right now, correct?
Yes, I am.
How is it there? Because I wouldn't go to Hummel Park in the daytime. So how is it at night on Halloween?
Okay, I don't know if it's just my mind playing tricks on me, if I don't know, but I've been hearing some sounds now that it's gotten darker. I've seen some things on the floor I didn't see before.
What kind of sounds are you hearing?
Like faint screams of a lady.
That's pretty, is it Shrek? Because that might be it.
My mom, she screams really loud sometimes to get me into the house, so maybe it's my mom, if that makes you feel any better.
Hey, Analia, talk about that hand that you saw out there.
Okay, so we took a picture of a building. There was writing on it, so we wanted to take a picture. Took the picture, and then when we looked at it, there was like a hand. Like the picture didn't even come out. It's just like a hand, kind of. It looks like a witch's hand, like a skinny with long nails hand.
Analia, was it your own hand?
It was not my own hand.
Okay, good. Just making sure. So, I mean, Analia, please don't go anywhere that I wouldn't go, which is essentially Hummel Park. But other than that, yeah, thanks for being there and risking the odds of being in such an awful place.
Yes, thank you, Analia.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. You're the real MVP.
Okay, you guys are breaking up a little bit.
Hold on. Well, are we breaking up really?
That's because Satan's getting a hold of the phone.
No, stop.
Hey, make sure you guys be safe. You be careful. I mean, we don't know what's out there at Hummel Park. We've heard a lot of bad things about it.
Okay, I'll be safe.
Okay, and hopefully we'll be able to check up on them a little bit later, make sure that they are okay.
Or not.
Or not, but who knows? Not. So let's move into our next story. It's about pagans. Now, pagans, the very word probably conjures up some images of secret societies or dark hidden rooms, robed figures and altars with sacrificial offerings in the middle of a candlelit room. However, one reporter, Enrique Madera, dared to break the stereotype and spend an evening with one in her sunlit apartment over a nice plate of soup and grilled cheese.
How nice.
So my primary altar is in here. Keep it a little separate from everything else. Let me move the clothing out of the way because I'm still unpacking.
Pagans, they're just like you and me, folks. They have to clean out their closets, too. Truly, pagans are just like you and me, with clutter in their home and the knack to leave it in their closets. One woman, by the name of Britt Marvin, was kind enough to take time out of her day and talk about her faith. Paganism.
It's just this huge umbrella term that basically describes religions that are either have more than one deity, they have some kind of basis in nature, or there's some kind of element that stems back to traditional folk magic.
She further described paganism by comparing it and contrasting it to Abrahamic traditions by using a tree metaphor. One tree was the Abrahamic tree, whose religions follow and worship one god, and the pagan tree has multiple gods with just as many faiths and practices and religions. With all this information she was giving me, I had to believe she was an expert, but that wasn't the case when she told me how she came about the pagan way.
As a kid, I had a lot of really interesting dreams. Specifically, I had a dream of this dog-headed man that would come and talk to me, and I didn't realize that it was Egyptian. I didn't realize that it was Anubis because I was probably 7 or 8. And as I got older, I started doing research. But the further into my research that I went, the more I realized that there were different aspects of my life and the way that I lived and different aspects of my practice that have always been pagan before I even knew what the word pagan was.
But Britt wasn't truly open about her practice, especially with her parents, not until she was 21.
I identified as a Christian up until probably I was about 12 or 13. And even though I still went to church with my family or went to like church camps in the summer and stuff, I still identified as pagan. And I guess you could say I was in the broom closet, as we call it, for some time.
I went on to ask Britt what exactly made paganism such a recluse practice. My guess came from the stereotypes people put on them, describing them as being shady, hell-bent figures in dark cloaks with a thirst for blood. She quite simply said, it's a more inward-looking faith that depends on the individuals.
You find more often that within the Wiccan community they'll have covens and circles, and this delves into the topic that differentiates paganism from craft.
In short, one way to tell the difference between a pagan and a Wiccan is that Wicca branched off from paganism and is still a very young way of believing, as young as America is to the rest of the world's countries. To simplify it even more, take it this way. All Wiccans are pagans, but not all pagans are Wiccans. Just like all thumbs are fingers, but not all fingers are thumbs.
Oftentimes people will get together for ritual if there's a holiday coming up or a special celestial event, like if there's an eclipse. But for the most part, people that practice craft are solitary. And for the most part, pagans, on the whole, tend to be solitary.
Before this meeting with Britt, I asked her if there was a group I could also talk to. She told me not that many pagans would be open to discussion, not out of being rude, more or less so because of how they practice.
You're on your own. You study on your own, you research on your own, it's your personal path. And especially since paganism is so, you could almost argue, self-centric, because it relies a lot on where you are now, where you want to be, and how you connect with nature, how you connect with the divine. It's a very personal journey.
I was left a bit unsatisfied with this answer, since it only told me why they practice alone, and not why they are so afraid to say who they truly are. So I took a bold step by asking if the influence of the church had anything to do with pagans having to hide their beliefs.
Yes and no. We'll use Ireland as an example. St. Patrick claimed to have rid Ireland of the snakes. There were no physical snakes. Snakes was a term to represent pagan people. And that was because the pagans at that time had either been killed off, forced to convert, or sent other places.
To me, this seemed like the yes portion of the question. Yes, the church's influence labeled innocent people as evil because they worshipped more than one god, or they worshipped anything but a god. Britt went on to explain how further the church went to not really hide pagan belief, but more or less redecorate it.
They came up with really crafty ways of getting people to convert. For example, a lot of it had to do with holidays. They said, hey, well, we've got this holiday too that's very similar to yours. All you have to do is throw Jesus in the mix.
It wasn't all that surprising to me, since even Christian holidays themselves are becoming very commercialized, with Christmas having sales around every corner and Halloween being flooded by candy ads.
A really good example is Ostara, or Easter. Today we have imagery where, it's the resurrection of Christ after 3 days. And then we also have the imagery of chickens and eggs and bunnies and things like that. And Ostara was a fertility goddess, and her primary symbols were the rabbit, the egg, the chicken.
This really opened my eyes to the fact that pagans are just like any other normal person that is due equal treatment and respect.
So they tried to basically play it off as, hey, it's okay if you can convert because you're doing all the same things. You can keep doing your traditions, but we're going to Christianize them. So in that respect, a lot of people practice what were originally traditionally pagan practices.
But it also showed me that they are more out in the open than we care to admit.
It's less respected in the public because we've become so Christian-centric that a lot of people don't understand where a lot of these traditions came from. They just assume that they've always been Christian traditions.
They are in the eggs we hide in bushes for our children. They are in the pumpkins we carve and place outside. They are in the pine trees we bring inside and decorate. They are not a shy, recluse people, but a misunderstood one that wasn't really given a chance.
And with all the negative stigmas that surround paganism or witchcraft or anything like that, a lot of people are in the broom closet still, or they keep their practice to themselves because they don't want to deal with either bigotry or misunderstanding.
For MavRadio.fm, I'm Enrique Madera.
With a new insight, a better understanding of who pagans really are, and a brief history of their beliefs, I'd say the stigma has lessened for a few of our fellow listeners, at least. Now we go live to Enrique, who is also in Hummel Park. Enrique, are you there?
I'm here, folks. What's up?
Is it still spooky out there?
We've been experiencing one thing, but one big thing I experienced was with my camera and what I saw for a quick moment.
And what was that?
Basically, like Analia said, we were inside the building on top of Hummel Park, just taking pictures of the writing inside, when all of a sudden this strange, white, shadowy figure like just floated across my camera. I became so scared that as soon as the picture was taken, I moved my camera away so I couldn't get a picture of it, but it really freaked me out.
Are you sure it just wasn't Analia?
I'm positive. She has tan, smooth skin, and the figure I saw had very smoky gray skin.
That kind of sounds like my dad.
Ah!
So your mom and dad, Lyle, are out there?
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing out there.
So really quick, let's focus in for 1 second. We have a really quick question. Can you tell us some of the stereotypes associated with pagans?
One of the stereotypes is that they gather together and they have all these dark rituals, candlelight, dark rooms, or at night outside. That is not specifically true. The only times they get together are for very special events, so holidays or celestial events like an eclipse or a solar eclipse, lunar eclipse, things like that. So for them to get together in the middle of the night, just at random, is a bit of a Hollywood stereotype to stylize them. And another kind of stereotype is how they kill animals as offerings. First off, one of their specific rules on nature is that they don't harm any living being, nor human nor animal. So all those were just Hollywood stereotypes meant to stylize them and just for the masses, really.
Gotcha. Awesome. Thank you, Enrique. Stay safe out there. And Lyle, what do we got coming up?
Run right now. All of you, run out of Hummel Park. Get out of there right now.
There might be some...
Nolia's car right now.
There might be some leftover pizza if you get back fast enough.
We'll see. See you guys.
Thanks, Enrique.